Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reedy with Future Pastimes. I'm the designer of The Adventures of Conan. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the importance of player order in the round. Now, obviously this is not something that really matters in a two-player game because you only have Conan and the foe, and the foe is going to go first in every phase except for encounters when Conan goes first. So there's not a whole lot that goes into that, at least in terms of what I want to cover in this video. It does matter a little bit in solo mode, because there are going to be times where it does matter. You, as Conan, to pay attention to if the ally is going first for certain things, for rewards or actions that will happen, versus if the foe is going to go first. But it's less of a critical element to the game than it is in a 3-player or 4-player. And I'll mostly be talking about the 3-player, which, as if you've watched other videos on this channel, you'll know is my favorite player count for The Adventures of Conan. I think it's best at 3 players. That said, of course, I love playing it at 2 players. I love playing it at 4 players. It works great at 1 player. But for player order, paying attention to that and how you leverage it from round to round is really critical in a 3- and 4-player game. And it's important in pretty much every phase, and we're going to cover why. First of all, again, the player order is going to be determined at the start of each round by an event card. So at the bottom of the event card, it's going to give you a little icon there. That lets you know you're going clockwise. And you've got this token. I like to just put this, in front of whoever is going to be first for everything except encounters, for that round. There's a first player token, which is the battle axe that you can use, but I like to use this as well. It's a nice little visual. So let's say that you're sitting around the table, ally, foe, Conan, and it is going to be going clockwise. I put this in front of the ally. They'd be the first player clockwise. And then if you get an event that has it going counterclockwise, you just flip the token over. I'd put that over in front of the foe if that was the order in which you were sitting. And then some of the expansion ones will have this symbol, and that just simply means flip it over to another side. And there's things in the rules about what if this is the first one? What do you do? So at the beginning of the round, you're going to know the player order, and like I said, Conan is going to go last in every phase except for encounters. So again, it's going to be the player order is determined from Conan because Conan's going to go last. So if Conan is sitting here and you're going in this order, which may be different backwards for me, I'm doing a clockwise loop. I know it looks a little bit different, but anyways, if it's clockwise, you're like, great, I'm going to mark that on there. Now, in the first phase, which is the resource phase, there's a couple of things that's going to determine. So like in the very first round, when you're selecting God tokens, that's normally done in lowest score goes first up to highest score goes last. But when you have people with the same score, those ties are going to be broken in player order. And of course, in the first round, everybody has no points, or 1. The rule book says put it on the 1. I like to just start off and then we move on. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but you're going to be going in player order. So again, if you're in that same configuration where the ally, you're going in this direction and the ally happens to be that first player in clockwise order, they're going to get dibs on the God token. Let's say in the second round, somehow Conan is ahead on the score. He's got a couple of points, and the foe and the ally are tied. And let's say in the second round it flips over. It's going to be the foe choosing God tokens first, then the ally, and then Conan because he has the highest score, or however it works out. And so that's an important consideration. Knowing that, there, I mean, there's not, you don't have any control over the events, but it's important to know that. The next thing where it becomes important is with extra dice. And this is where it is a big deal in a 4-player game. 4-player game, you're going to have 2 foes, and they are going to be sharing a pool of secondary dice. There's going to be 4 dice available for them to purchase or to gain through unlocking free dice on the achievement track, or even more likely for a foe on the plot track. And the acquisition of those dice is also done in player order. So in a 4-player game, you're going to have a foe on either side of Conan. And so if the clockwise foe, if that's what the event says, you're going clockwise, and the clockwise foe is going first. And let's say they've unlocked a couple of free dice. They've moved halfway up the plot track, and they've got one of their tokens halfway up the achievement track. They're going to get 2 dice for free, which they're just going to get those 2 dice. Now let's say that they've got some gold. They've got 3 golds, and they're like, great, I'm going to buy another die. Now, the other foe may also have unlocked 2 free dice, but there's only 1 die left, and that's all they're going to get. And I would like to remind you, it's when normally the way the foe dice works is it's 1 gold for their first die, 2 for their second, and 3 for any after that. But once you unlock free dice, you move up. If your first die is free, then the next die would cost you 2. And if you're getting 2 free dice, then it's 3 gold. So if you're a foe who's unlocked 2 free dice and you have 6 gold, you can get all of those dice, which means the other foe will get no extra dice that round. So that's a big deal. And when you're not doing the team mode where the 2 foes are working together, when it's every player for himself, then you want to capitalize on getting all of those dice. So maybe you were like, oh, I wanted to save up my gold for rolling the kingdom die, or maybe you're using the bazaar deck and you're going to do that, but getting, just monopolizing all of those dice, that's a big deal. And then the last thing that turn order matters for in the resource phase is when you're doing those plot rolls, sometimes the rewards, so like the bonus, is going to be the same for everybody. So, let's say that this is your event, and the bonus here is, you're getting to roll a kingdom die and you get a gold, but you're getting a specific fate token. Now let's say that you've got a couple, you've got a couple of these, or other players already have this scry fate token. You've gotten the bonus. You pick up another one. Let's say that's it. There's only 4 of each fate token, so you've picked it up. Anybody who goes after you, they get the bonus as well. They're not going to get that fate token. There's no consolation prize. There's not like, oh, go get something else. You just don't get it. The supply is limited, which is especially hard on Conan as he goes last. So certain things, and sometimes like just the reward on a plot thing, a lot of times it's different for each character, but sometimes it's the same. And in fact, sometimes, you're not even on the same chapter. So what Conan might be getting on chapter 1 might be the same thing that an ally or foe is getting on chapter 2 or 3, because it kind of alternates. So again, limited resources are available to you, so that player order is important. It makes a big deal. So again, you might be incentivized to like, oh, I've advanced on the plot, but I didn't get the bonus. But maybe you've got a God token or a fate token that you could use to get that bonus. And you're like, if I get the bonus, that means I'm denying another player certain resources. So keep that in mind. Now, moving into the main phase, there are pros and cons to going first, to saying, all right, I've got the first dibs on things. It's nice to be able to do things before anyone else can do them. But on the other hand, going later, you get to see what other people are doing and react to it. And also, let's say, for instance, Conan has a certain number of warrior results that he has rolled. And he wants to use those to advance on the achievement track. But you're also a little bit worried about having to face a challenge token that with a fight or a duel from a foe. So you want to save your warrior results in case that happens. And so going later, other people are using up their dice, and you have a chance to see what's going to happen and know whether or not you need certain results or you can use them. But the other really important thing is that encounter track. So there are specific spaces of results on that encounter track. And let's say that you're the foe and you've rolled a warrior. You've got a chance to put a warrior right on that encounter track. You're on your way to unlocking encounters, and you've also blocked out a warrior result, which Conan may want to put one of his dice on in order to get a free result. So let's say, for instance, that this is an encounter that Conan is likely to face. Let's say he wants to go to an adventure that's in a kingdom with this attribute. So he's like, if I go there, I'm going to have to fight these cutthroats. There's only 3 results on here. And let's say that Conan has rolled a double warrior on his orange die. So he knows that if he can put that double warrior on the encounter track, then all he has to roll is this result. And maybe he's got a thief fate token, or he's got, the set god token. So he knows this is a guarantee. I'll definitely be able to beat the cutthroats. It'll give me a victory point and 2 gold, which will be nice. And I won't have to worry about any of these penalties. But the foe is going first and blocks out that first warrior spot, and the ally is now going next. And maybe they're like, you know what, maybe I'll block it. They put a warrior on there. That's a guaranteed warrior result for the ally. It's also one for the foe. And this is important because if they do unlock the encounters, Conan goes first. But here's what happens. Anything that Conan rolls will be applied for the next player if Conan doesn't complete it. So let's say, he's been blocked out from these results. So he has to roll these. So remember, if for every foe die that's on the encounter track, Conan has to set aside a die. So he has a smaller pool to work with and only 1 roll to get it. So let's say he's like, he rolls, he only has 3 dice. He rolls them. He gets 1 warrior, which he has to apply. He rolls a warrior on his orange primary die there. He has to apply that as a success. He doesn't roll the other results. He's not going to use his thief fake token because he doesn't want to make this, it's not going to complete it. He doesn't want to make it easier for the other people. So Conan is done. He did not beat the cutthroats, and he's put a warrior on there. Now, the foe is going next in turn order because they went first. They're whatever, let's say that counterclockwise means the foe is going first, and that's what the event says. So they're next. They've got Conan's success, and they have 1 success for themselves because they put a warrior on there. So all they need with the rest of their dice that they roll is that thief, which for them, they're going to have to roll a wild because none of the foe dice have the thief result. But, they've got on their secondary dice, they have 2 wilds. So pretty decent odds on there. And so on certain encounters, if Conan can't finish an encounter and you are the first player in player order, you've got the first chance to complete an encounter. Now, some of the encounters are much more difficult. And in those cases, if you're first in player order, maybe you are not as anxious to unlock the encounters. But if a second player after Conan or a third player, if you're doing a 4P game, they have an excellent chance of completing those. So if you're going with, if all the encounters have a lot of symbols on them or some really tough symbols for Conan to roll, and you're later in player order, you definitely want to unlock those encounters. And for the simpler ones like this one's relatively easy for the group to complete. When you are early in the player order, whether, whichever side it is, if you're like, I'm first, you want Conan to get some successes. You may have some guaranteed from whatever dice you have put on the encounter track. And so it makes it really easy. So this is probably the most important part of player order, which is why I wanted to do this video. And it's like, when do I put energy into unlocking encounters? And there's a couple of things. One is you want to look at the adventures. Where's Conan going to go? This adventure is in, like if all 3 of the adventure cards, none of them have kingdoms with this attribute, this is not an encounter that Conan's likely to face. But maybe you've got some sorcery results or some wilds so that you can cycle out some of these encounters. If you've got a lot of encounters, will be a specific kingdom type. So it'll be red or it'll be gray for an Eldritch Kingdom. And like none of the adventures are there, so you want to get rid of those. But there's plenty of encounters where it's like the giant spider or assassins. It's any kingdom. And so when you've got a couple of those out there and you're like, Conan's going to face encounters if we unlock them. Should I be unlocking the encounters? Well, you want to do it if you can get some dice on the encounter track to not only work towards unlocking them, but match symbols that you know you're going to need to roll. And the bonus is if it's also a symbol that you can cut Conan out from looking at what he's rolled in the main phase. Like, he's rolled that symbol. If I get a die on that encounter track, then he can't do it and give himself a guarantee. And it's most important with those warriors. When Conan has rolled warriors, especially that double warrior on those orange dice, you want to block out those warriors if you can. And everyone going before Conan makes that a much more likely possibility. Again, as an ally, you're like, oh, I could we're in a warrior kingdom, and I could use that to just advance on that achievement track. And it's very tempting to do that. But you also want to look at, all right, what adventure is Conan going to do? Maybe I can get him to a kingdom with a 3-point adventure. If we can wound Conan, he has fewer dice at his disposal. So he's going to have to use the other player's dice. That's the key. When Conan's going for 2 and especially 3-point adventures, you want to reduce his dice pool, especially if he's got any fate tokens or a useful god token that can help him not use the rival dice. And that brings us to the adventure phase. What's critical about the adventure phase is if you're going first, that's the first set of successes that Conan has to evaluate. So if you've rolled some stuff that is going to be needed for that adventure, Conan has to weigh, do I use your dice and give you the points, or am I going to push my luck? And, Conan can look at the score. And so let's say that, again, the ally is going first, but the foe is ahead on the victory point tracks. Conan is much more likely to use the ally's dice in that case. And if you're going first as the ally, you want to press that on Conan and say, look, you want to use those dice. Conversely, if the foe is the one going first in the adventure phase, any successes that the foe uses, that the foe rolls, that Conan doesn't use is a red flag for Conan. It's danger. And that's because if Conan doesn't use those and doesn't complete the adventure, you are the first player that gets to then apply successes that weren't taken. And so that is a really important thing. And for me, when I'm playing the foe, when I know I'm going first in turn order, if I have fate tokens that I can use to change my dice to the ones that the adventure needs, I'm more likely to not use those when I roll. I'm hoping Conan has to, is unable to complete that adventure, because when I get to check in to see if I have any dice that weren't selected, I can then change those dice with my fate tokens and complete that adventure. And that's a really critical part on here, is if a foe completes an adventure, only the foe's dice are scored and the foe gets the adventure card. In the ally's case, you are looking at getting some points, absolutely. And if Conan has any dice, he'll score as well if you complete the adventure. But the important thing is, as the ally, you get the adventure card and you will be able to get its rewards that round because you are in that kingdom where the adventure took place, because Conan is in that kingdom. And so that is an important consideration. So we're looking at the player order. You're thinking about, all right, what adventure do I want Conan to go to? And do I have fate tokens that I can apply? And when should I apply them? Same thing with god tokens, because when you have the agency about using the dice, you can then use your god tokens to change things. So a big deal right there. And the last phase is the cleanup. The player order matters here as well, because again, you're scoring, you're getting resources. If you are in a kingdom with an adventure, again, that's scored in player order. So If for some reason, let's say, you did an adventure in Tehran, right? And, as the ally, you got this one, but then there was another adventure in Tehran, and Conan has gotten that one. So you're getting to go first, and look what the reward here is: gain any one fate token. Well, let's say that Conan's reward is to gain a warrior fate token, and there's only one left. So because you're going before Conan, you take that last one. So you want to pay attention to those sorts of things and know that the player order matters even in that phase as well. So a critical element to helping you to win the game is paying close attention to what is the player order, what are the ramifications of it, and how can I leverage it as a player. Conan is usually at the mercy of the other players, and it's too bad for Conan. He will excel in other ways, but as the other players are like, oh, how can I really leverage it? So player order really matters. And of course, as Conan, you want to be looking at what can the other players do? What active dice do they have left, especially in the main phase, in the adventure phase? How can this be used against me? Do I just go ahead and use your dice now, even though you're going to get more points, just to guarantee that I, as Conan, can complete that adventure, or at least be in control so that I get the rewards? Sometimes you're giving up a lot of points. It's nice if you can spread them out a little bit, so like the foe is not getting 12 points, but like, all right, maybe they're getting 6 points. The ally is getting 6 points, but you are getting some gold or moving up an achievement track, which maybe will get you 8 points at the end of the game. And so those are the things you have to weigh. But you know that, like, if you've rolled something I need and I don't choose that die, that can come back and haunt me. And looking at what order does that happen. If it's the ally who's going first, the worst case scenario is they're going to get the adventure, but at least maybe you'll still get some points out of it. But when it's the foe, you get nothing, and they get it all. So there you have it. Let me know if you have any questions about player order or anything else having to do with the adventures of Conan. That's it for this video, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.